How often do you work with writers who are afraid that their ideas will be stolen?
Almost every student I have, almost every client I have in my coaching business has expressed concern about, oh, what if my ideas get stolen? And how do I protect my ideas? So a lot of what I teach, especially around week 6 and week 7 of the Entertainment Business School, is how do you protect yourself? How do you go in armed so that you really understand the language of the business side of the industry? And ultimately, of course, you cannot copyright an idea. And that's why some production companies will have you sign something that says, hey, if we're going to read your script, we can't promise we don't have another idea like this in development. I was a development exec for a company called Inferno Entertainment, and we made films like Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds. We did The Good Night with Gwyneth Paltrow and Penelope Cruz. We did a movie that I helped put together called Peaceful Warrior with Nick Nolte. That was based on IP. And all the time we were getting submissions from managers, from producers, from agents, and we might have 3 or 4 scripts in the read queue that were about the devil. How are you going to protect an idea? Okay, maybe your devil is a woman, or maybe your devil is young or old or living on another continent. I mean, they're all a different take on the devil. So that's an example of like, okay, you might feel like, oh, my script is so original and it's this take on the devil we've never seen. But I'm like, ooh, I got 4 of them here in the read queue. What is undeniable is your voice as a writer, is your actual work, your screenplay, your treatment, which you can register with the Writers Guild, which you can also put into the Library of Congress. So those protections to get the Writers Guild protection, to get the Library of Congress protection on your work is huge. But you actually cannot copyright and protect just an idea. So you got to do the work.
What do you teach students about IP?
Okay, so I love teaching about IP. I'm also a published novelist, a lot of experience in the publishing side of things, and as a development exec, I was always looking for IP. So when I found the book Peaceful Warrior that I had loved as a teen, and then went, oh, I wonder what's happening with this. My boss had said, go find us some IP. So I made some phone calls. I called the agent. I didn't know you could just call an author's agent. Even as a development exec, I was like, I could just pick up the phone and call them. Okay, so I did. And the agent's like, oh yeah, well, Nick Nolte has the rights to Peaceful Warrior. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, let's contact Nick's office. So we reach out, hey, what's happening with Peaceful Warrior? Oh, well, there's a script. Oh, great. Well, we might want to co-finance that. We were doing some co-financing with New Line Cinema at the time. So they send over the script. We're like, this script is pretty good. Next thing you know, Peaceful Warrior is getting made as a film. So execs feel more confidence when there is some legacy to a project. I mean, we're seeing this with huge decisions now, like that Jeff Bezos has made at Amazon to pursue Lord of the Rings. It was like, what, a $400 million IP acquisition. So of course, you're probably not at Jeff Bezos level of acquiring IP, but I even instruct my students, pick up the phone. If you have a book that you love, what if the rights are available? Did you know you can call the agent? What? So I had a student last session who loved this particular book series that had elves in it. And she's like, oh, I'd give anything to adapt this. Oh, but it's so popular. I'm sure it's not available. She was already talking herself out of it. I said, pick up the phone and call the agent and let's find out if the rights are available. The rights were available. The agent was excited to talk to her. The author was thrilled. She had an idea for the whole series. She pitched it to them. Hey, this is what I would love to do with it. Could I possibly have the rights? She didn't at the time have the money to pay for an option, which always is more, but she did offer a shopping agreement, a paid shopping, and they went for it. And now she controls this IP and she's able to do her own adaptation and she acts. So she's looking for a role for herself, but she gets to write for herself. But now that she controls that IP, that becomes a honeypot for execs who are like, oh wait, it's based on IP? This is the most powerful statement you can utter to any buyer. I have this project based on IP, based on best-selling IP. In a lot of cases, a best-selling work has sold tens of thousands of copies in a year. It doesn't have to be millions. Some of the books on the New York Times bestseller list have sold 40,000, 50,000 copies. And maybe if it was a few years ago, the rights might be available. So just to encourage that you have the ability to contact book agents, reach out to authors directly. I am working on an adaptation of a memoir called Swell. I reached out to the author directly, Captain Liz Clark. I contacted her on Instagram. Hey, what's happening with your book? Is there any plans for television film adaptation? And she said, well, I've been waiting for the right team to come along and the rights are available. So the author was ready to engage with me directly. That is the point, when you have a yes, that is the point at which you involve attorneys. You find yourself a great, reliable entertainment attorney, hopefully someone who comes from a word of mouth recommendation, where you know, okay, there's someone I can trust to put a contract together, because you do have to have a contract to control the IP. That's something I teach my students in the Entertainment Business School, because it is a significant advantage in your career to control some IP.
Why is pitching important?
I think writers all fall in love with the craft, all fall in love with the words on the page and the story and their beloved characters. And then you realize, oh no, I have to sell this somehow. How do I actually sell my work? And that's usually where the plane runs out of runway for a lot of writers. Oh, wait, what do I do now? And maybe they just go, oh, I'm gonna write another screenplay. And next thing you know, they got 30 screenplays. So you have to learn pitching. So many writers are like, I don't wanna be in sales. I don't have to sell anything. That's why I'm a creative, Kaia. No, I'm so sorry. I have to let you know that you are in sales. You're gonna write things and then you're gonna need to take them out and sell them. You're always pitching. So whether you're talking to a producer at a film festival or you're trying to get representation, you're pitching yourself, whether you're querying or you're reaching out to others in your Wolfpack saying, hey, do you know anyone who might be right for me? You need to be able to talk about yourself and your work confidently, because the first experience that buyers, so development execs and producers, people who can actually make your show, make your film, have of you is, how well do you talk about your story? How well do you talk about your work? And I teach a technique called the stealth pitch, because it's quietly a pitch, but it makes it fun for the exec or the producer to hear, and they go, oh, tell me more. So I teach that to my writers in the Entertainment Business School so that they feel like, okay, I have some arrows in my quiver to know how to talk about myself. There are other wonderful teachers in the industry like Carol Kirshner, who I know you've had on your show, who teach pitching so well. And there's formatting around it that gives you, like in a bowling lane, the bumpers, and you feel like, oh, I'm not gonna end up in the gutter, Yeah, you can just head straight for the strike. How do you talk about your story, the world, your personal connection to that material? If you're pitching TV, like this season, future seasons, you're letting them know really essentially what you love about your story. So when I was a development exec, probably heard, I don't know, hundreds of pitches. And what I will tell you is that we never bought or financed a film where there wasn't passion in the pitch. I had half of the pitch meetings I took, the producers and everybody who was there, we got really stiff and really nervous. And okay, we're gonna tell you about the story and these are characters, and they looked terrified and they couldn't relax and just banter and say, oh, I can't wait to tell you about my favorite character because she, climbed Mount Everest at a time, when no women were doing that in her flip-flops. Whatever it happens to be, right? Here, look, here's the axe the ice axe that she used to do it. And then the execs are like, oh my gosh, we feel connected. So the passion can carry you far. Your energy, your joy, your love of this story, these characters can carry you really far. So you bring the passion and then you start to learn some of the structure and then you practice. And I will tell my students always, practice to yourself in the mirror, then put your phone on a stand and film yourself talking about your story, talking about your work, you film it. And then you go grab your spouse, grab your best friend, grab somebody you're working with and say, hey, you got 4 minutes for me to I wanna tell you this story. And then you put your phone up and you film yourself pitching, telling someone else the story. Pitching is a little bit of like a 4-letter word for people who go, oh no, it's sales, I'm not salesy. And then they freeze and it gets scary. But if you find your passion and you can communicate it and then tell a decent story woven in, you're already 90% further down the road than someone who can't clearly articulate with passion the story that they're telling.